This is the You, Me, and BTC podcast. Welcome to episode 36. In today's show, we'll be talking about the collapse of the US dollar. Lots of people think it will happen soon and almost apocalyptically. We're not so sure about that, but we will spend some time today chatting about how, when, and why it could happen. This conversation was spurred by the recent announcement by Amagi Metals, saying that they would no longer accept US dollars after 2016. Then later in the show, we'll discuss the new expensive tipping mechanism for YouTube and a new very cheap Firefox phone that could allow many more people all over the world to have access to Bitcoin. Stay tuned for all of that and more. Your hosts are Tim Baker, John Stuart, and myself, Daniel Brown. Here we go. Hey everybody, welcome to the show today. This is the You, Me, and BTC podcast, and this will be episode 36, I believe. It is Tuesday, September 2nd, and you guys will be hearing this for the first time in just a few days. The 4th, on Thursday, that's when we always release. One of the first things that I really want to mention that I'm really excited about is that as long as everything goes well, this will be our first episode that we will put on as a LibertyMe podcast. So we're excited about that. Nothing really is going to change. It's same show, same hosts and everything. But it's just another way to get the show out there is to put it listed on LibertyMe and share it through their feed and their audience and things like that. So we're excited about that. And if you're listening, if you found us through LibertyMe, we're super excited to have you. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you'll continue to listen if you enjoy it. And we always want to know what you think of the show. Is it good? Is it bad? Tell us why I'm your favorite host. So we like to hear stuff like that. You can visit our website, youmeandbtc.com, for all of our past episodes if you want to listen to those. If you want to leave some feedback, you can comment there. You can shoot me an email. I'm Daniel at youmeandbtc.com. I guess it would be worth introducing ourselves before we get much farther. I am Daniel Brown, and I'm here with Tim Baker.
Hello, everybody. I'm hoping you're having a wonderful day.
I think he's being sarcastic. Tim never wishes nice things.
No, I'm a nice person.
And I'm also here with John Stuart.
Hi. I don't have anything else.
See, I had to be interesting. Or at least attempt to and fail very badly.
Anyway. So yeah, shoot me an email, Daniel at youmeandbtc.com, if you're interested, if you have anything to say, any feedback, good or bad. We like to hear from you guys anytime. And yeah, thanks again for joining us. And if you're not from LibertyMe, we definitely want to encourage you to check it out. I mean, it's a really cool place. It's a fairly new social network. And, the name is LibertyMe. So yeah, it's for liberty-oriented, all kinds of stuff, really. There's forums, there's chat. You can get your own publishing site, your own subdomain, where you can post all your own articles. There's classes every night. It's called LibertyMe U. There's all kinds of cool stuff there. And that's not even the full list. It just goes on and on. So they have podcasts there too, of course. I heard they have this really good one. I think it won like some award, best podcast on the internet or something. I think it's called You, Me, and BTC or something like that. Did you guys hear about that one?
I think it sucks.
Excuse me?
I haven't actually heard of it.
Well, it's over there at LibertyMe, so you guys better check that out. Hey, and if you want to join, we have a code, YMB, which will get you $5 off every month for life, actually. So that's pretty sweet. That's a lot of money that you would save over time. And if you're not sure, though, I mean, obviously you just want to see what it is and try it out before you put any money into it. So you can get 30 days free, too. So check that out. And if you want to join after the 30 days, just use our code YMB and you'll save a ton of money. So that's liberty.me if you're interested. Sweet. And thanks to everyone who's listening to us on that feed. Okay, so before we jump into some more, some more important articles and stuff, I want to mention two things just real quick. First of all, I spent a little bit of today updating one of our tools that I have on our website. We have two conversion tools. One of them is, I call it a Bitcoin price converter, because one of the best use cases is if you're selling something online. And let's say I want to sell, the classic thing with Bitcoin is alpaca socks. So let's say I want to sell a pair of alpaca socks for $10. What you can do with this tool is you put in $10 and put in what exchange you want to use. And you can even select how many decimal places you want to display and stuff like that. But you just make these selections and then you click the button and it will generate an image, a PNG image that will automatically update with the exchange rate. So what you do then is you go to your web page or your forum post or whatever, wherever you're selling those alpaca socks, you paste this image and then it will always show the $10 price in Bitcoin and it'll change and update as the exchange rate changes. So that's pretty cool. And I'm sure if you wanted to, there's tons of other use cases for that. Like if you just wanted to put on your website, if you wanted to post the price of one Bitcoin, you could just put that in, select one Bitcoin, convert it to dollars, and then put that PNG image on your website, and it will always show the price of one Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I actually have that on my website. That's all I was going to say. I have a Coinbase donation button, and then right next to that is the price converter, just so that people have an idea of what the exchange rate is.
Right, exactly.
I can't remember, because you have it set up so that you can choose which exchange rate it goes by too, right?
Yep, and right now, actually, the only ones are Coinbase and BTCE. I used to have Bitstamp, but they updated their API or whatever, and for some strange reason, it won't let some applications access the API. So maybe if I fiddled with it, I could figure it out. But for the moment, I'm not able to pull the price from Bitstamp. No idea why. But so yeah, right now I would recommend Coinbase. That's pretty straightforward, pretty common, pretty simple. So yeah.
Yeah, I think mine's Coinbase because I have the Coinbase button on there.
Okay.
So it's just consistent.
Right. That's a pretty good rate. And if anybody really needs another one, like if you really want Bitcoin average or if you really want Prev or anything, just let me know and I'll try and get it put in there. That shouldn't be super difficult. So yeah, just again, shoot me an email or leave a comment any way you want to contact me. And then that's actually not the tool that I really wanted to talk about today though, because it's the other one that I updated. And it's weird because it's a really, really simple tool. All it does is convert between Bitcoin, millibits, and or bits. A millibit is 1/1000th of a Bitcoin, and there are 1 million bits in a Bitcoin. So they're really fairly easy conversions. All you do is multiply or divide by 1,000 or 1,000,000. But even though it's such a simple thing, actually a lot of people want to do that conversion, and that's like where a huge amount of our website traffic comes from, is to those tools. So it's kind of funny. But anyway, the update that I'm trying to get to is that just today I spent some time messing with some things and some more APIs and whatnot, and I added the feature so that you can convert from any of those things, Bitcoin, millibit, or bits, and you can convert to or from the US dollar. So that's pretty cool. Again, it's fairly simple. I mean, all you have to do is look up the exchange rate and do some math. But if you want just a really simple interface it's really clean too. I mean, there's only 4 options: the starting value, what you're converting from, what you're converting to. Actually, that's only 3. And then the 4th thing is just the result. What is the conversion? So if you're interested in any of those tools, go to our website, umembtc.com. There is a button that says Bitcoin Price Converter on the right. You click that and it will take you to the first tool, which generates that image that we were talking about. And then on the top of that page, there's another link that will take you to the other tool, which now converts between Bitcoins, millibits, bits, and or dollars. So sweet. The one other thing that I want to mention before we move on to some bigger stories again is a new website that I helped set up over the last week or two. It's called tforbtc.com, and I guess just like you would expect, it sells T for BTC, for Bitcoin. So it's all loose leaf tea, it's quality stuff, and it's really cheap too. I mean, you can get an ounce of loose leaf tea for, well, the original price that we sell it for is like between $2 and $3. And an ounce of loose leaf, I think, could easily make at least 10 cups, maybe even 20. I don't know. It makes a lot. I know I've had it. The first time I got loose leaf tea, I bought 3 ounces, and that was almost a year ago. And I still haven't even used some of that because I didn't realize how much it was. So, you know, you could buy 1 ounce of tea and honestly make a ton of cups of amazing tea. So, but what's even better is that for the first few customers, you can get 50% off. So you can really get that much tea, an ounce of tea, at least 10 cups, I would say, for about $1, because shipping is free too. I think that's fantastic. So if you want to get 50% off your entire order, I mean, you could even buy out the entire store if you wanted to. But the code for that is T4Me50. So if you like tea, if you want to try some, and if you want to spend some Bitcoin and like just a really tiny bit of Bitcoin too on some amazing tea, check out tforbtc.com and use the code T4Me50. That'd be pretty sweet, I think. Anyway, there's some big news that we talked about a little bit on our live show, I think 2 weeks ago. Again, for anybody that is new, we do a live show on Chain Radio every Saturday from 10 to midnight. That's Eastern Time, and you can get the details on that at umembtc.com/live. That's kind of our home base for our live shows. You can listen to the show there. You can vote there we'll have different polls up during the show that you can vote on. And you can tweet to us there. If you click the button on that page, it'll put in the hashtag YMB Live. And any hashtag YMB Live tweets that come to us at any time, not just while we're live, but any time during the week, we'll save those and read them on the air. So if you want to get your voice, your questions, your comments on the air, you can use that too. So anyway, yeah, that was just another quick plug for umembtc.com/live. And if you want to listen to that on Chain Radio, you can. But anyway, what I was getting at is that we talked about Amagi Metals, who right now they accept Bitcoin for gold and silver. And actually the CEO of Amagi Metals, Stephen McCaskill, was our first guest that we ever had on the UMBTC podcast. So, I mean, that already shows how important he is to us and how important his company is to us. We've all used the company. We love the company. So that's cool enough. They accept Bitcoin for gold and silver. But the big news is that now, or they're saying now that at the end of 2016 or the beginning of 2017, they're going to stop accepting dollars, which I think is huge news. I mean, there are a few random little sites like T4BTC. Sure, yeah, they just accept Bitcoin because they're small and that's how they want to do it. But there are really no big sites or retailers or anything out there that would refuse to accept dollars, and now Amagi's going to do it, which I think is really big news. Do you want to tell us about that, Tim?
Yeah. This article I've got up right here is from MoneyBeat from the Wall Street Journal. They're BitBeat. I don't know if that's like a regular thing that they do Or if it's... No, it says welcome to BitBeat, so never mind. Starts out, it's one thing for a retail business to say it's going to start accepting Bitcoin. From Expedia to Dish Network to Dell, there are plenty of those. But we've never heard of a company saying it won't accept dollars. Until today, that is. We were intrigued by a story online reporting that Denver-based precious metals dealer Amagi Metals said that by the end of 2016, it will no longer accept dollar-denominated business, and will do all of its business in cryptocurrencies, or gold, of course. Surely that couldn't be. Why would any retail business decide not to accept the world's most widely distributed and widely used currency? We had to talk to somebody at the company to see if this story was right. See, I mean, right there, I think that's most people's reaction is, why would you stop taking the dollar? Because, like they say, the dollar's the biggest currency in the world.
Yeah, it's just kind of crazy. Like, nobody says that you have to only accept dollars, but why would you refuse dollars is what people would say. And I think McCaskill has some legitimate reasons for refusing dollars. I think it's pretty crazy, but it's happening.
Yeah, it says next, there's some quotes from him. It says, yeah, it's pretty right. I'm a big advocate of sound money, CEO Stephen McCaskill told us over the phone. The dollar, no longer backed by gold, is controlled by political whim, he said. It is not a currency he wants to hold. Okay, that's fine, that's his opinion, but that's different than stating you won't accept dollars. We pressed him, sensing a fudge. Surely, we asked, on January 1st, 2017, if somebody wanted to hand you dollars for gold, you wouldn't turn that business away, would you? I think we're going to have a very different world in 5 years, he said. We're pretty close to the last leg of the dollar.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when he talks about the last leg of the dollar, because there are tons of people out there who get all this creeped out, crazy mindset that's like, oh, the dollar's going to collapse. It's all going to happen suddenly. You need to be prepared. Get ready for it. Stock up on everything you possibly can. And there are other people who say like, well, I guess there are some people who are just like, no, the dollar's fine. And whatever. I mean, if you want to believe that, you can believe that. But I would say the more common mindset is that, yeah, I think the dollar's kind of messed up. I think it's kind of going in the wrong direction, but it'll be a while, or it'll happen slowly. We'll have time to see it coming. And to be entirely honest, I don't know where I stand on that. I mean, I don't support the dollar. I don't think the dollar is a good thing, but I think I'm stuck between it's going to be sudden, it's going to be soon, and it's going to happen slowly, but it is going to happen. I don't know where I stand on that. I don't really know how quickly this is going to happen. I mean, I guess I'm not any sort of economist or financial person who's supposed to know this kind of thing, but still, it's worth saying that I'm not sure what I think, or if I think it'll be a massive, almost apocalyptic collapse or something, or if it's just going to fall apart over time. Do you guys have any leanings on that?
Yeah, well, I guess first, correct me if I'm wrong when I say this, because I'm not 100% sure, but at least I'm pretty sure this is how it goes. Historically, I don't think there have been any currencies that collapsed that took a long time to do it. It seems like most of the currency collapses that have happened in history were pretty fast. And my second thing is it really even possible for a currency to collapse slowly? Because if people know it's collapsing, that tends to cause panic and stuff. And like you, I'm not an economist or a historian. It just seems like, I don't know, a slow collapse seems kind of unlikely to me. Like, my guess is either that it'll kind of wobble around for a while, and then maybe they'll try to fix it somehow, and maybe it'll get a little bit better, or else it's gonna be a relatively quick collapse. I mean, maybe not overnight, but I don't think it's gonna take more than a year or maybe even a few months.
Yeah, I definitely follow some of that logic there. A couple things. First of all, we did a lot of talking in our last show about Buenos Aires in Argentina and their currency. And again, I haven't done like a whole bunch of research on all this and, studied all the history and everything. But from the articles that we read and from what I know, it seems like they've had a couple minor crises in the past where things like started to fall apart and looked really bad, but they're still barely holding together. And it also seems like over the past couple years, they've had inflation of like 30% or maybe even more, crazy numbers like that. And I wonder if it's possible that that is kind of like the slow collapse in action. And that's also kind of the thing that we're going through in the US, because people don't realize this and think about this a ton, but we really are in the midst of some crazy inflation. I mean, even middle-aged people, I don't know, 40s and 50s, will joke about how like a bus trip when they were young cost like 50 cents and they could go to a ball game for $1.50 and stuff like that, and gas was, 33 cents a gallon or whatever. These are all just random numbers. But what I'm saying is, in America, we really are going through some crazy inflation. It's just not quite enough to be a huge problem yet. And what I'm wondering is if, in America now and in Buenos Aires kind of right now, I wonder if we're in the midst of the slow collapse and at some point we're going to hit a tipping point and it's going to kind of be a combination. We had all this build up and then all of a sudden something, like I was saying, maybe like apocalyptic is going to happen and things really will go crazy. So I wonder if maybe it's a little bit of both. I don't know.
Yeah, the tipping point, I was actually just thinking of that word. I guess that's more what I meant. It kind of depends on what you mean by slow collapse, I guess. Because I think that there's like a tipping point. I don't think it's like this consistently gradual thing. Because I guess the panic factor and just whatever other kind of factors there are that go into it. Although I don't know if I would say 30% inflation isn't. I don't think I would call that a slow collapse. That seems pretty insane to me.
Well, see, but that's the thing. You're right. It is pretty insane, but it's been going on for a couple years now. And I mean, yeah, it's caused huge problems in general, but it's not like, I wouldn't say it's like apocalyptic or anything. It's just really problematic. So I don't know.
I might consider 30% like inflation already a collapsed currency. I don't know. I guess that's, again, it depends on what you think of as collapse.
Right. That's true, but the thing is people still use it every day. I mean, people still get paid in it and people still buy and sell things in it. So I don't know. I mean, and that's also kind of something I was thinking about with, what was it? The Zimbabwe? Is that those crazy like $1 trillion bills that you have, Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah, they intentionally hyperinflated their currency. The joke is always, well, it's not even a joke, but the story is always that you would have to have a wheelbarrow full of cash to go buy a loaf of bread. And that's a true statement, in when this was going on, I mean. And because the government was just printing literally $1 trillion bills or maybe even $10 trillion bills. And there was just wicked crazy inflation. But see, even then, like, yeah, that's insane. And maybe that I would consider apocalyptic. But even then, things were still functional. People still worked and got paid in those dollars. And yeah, again, the stories go that people would have to get raises several times a day and stores would have to raise prices several times a day. So yeah, it's insane and it's crazy, but it still was somewhat functional and people still used the currency. So even in those intense times, is that still sudden or is that still over time, people are still using it anyway and still figuring things out? I don't really know. Again, it might just be a question of, well, how do you define sudden and stuff like that? But Tim, you haven't given an opinion yet. What do you think?
I mean, I don't. Normally, whenever stuff like this comes up, I don't really like to say too much about it because I have no idea.
That's worth
pretty much
saying.
Everything you guys have said is just that. Well, it could, or like I think one of you said before about it, like a slow falling apart is kind of hard because as soon as it starts to fall apart to a certain extent, then it kind of just crumbles in on itself and just gets faster and faster.
Right.
Like it just snowballs to the point where it gets really bad.
No, I understand. It's worth saying that, we are trying to predict the future, which is probably one of the stupidest things that anybody anywhere can ever do. So yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Like, who cares? It's the future. You're never going to get it right. So
the problem is that they obviously what we're doing, what the U.S. is doing with its money is not sustainable, but it's been doing it for a while where it shouldn't be sustainable. So I don't know when I can say that it will somehow not be sustainable anymore and where it will actually just break.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that, like, once people start realizing that things aren't going perfectly, it's probably going to keep getting delayed because people will make small changes just to...
Yeah.
I mean, that seems to be our history with a lot of these kind of things. There was like with the budget and everything and the government getting shut down. It just, I don't know, we kind of have, that's partly just because of how our system works, like the bipartisan thing. But yeah, it could just get delayed for a really long time.
I definitely understand what you're saying, and I think we definitely have seen things like that where things really should start to collapse, but like you said, the government, kind of wiggles things around and manipulates some numbers. And, as soon as people start losing confidence, they figure out some way to reinstill that confidence. So I that's a really good point to make. Yeah, I think that happens a lot. I think the government has a massive influence on the people in general, and that includes the people's confidence in any sort of currency like the dollar. So yeah, the government definitely has some power to delay it, but again, I think we would all believe that it's inevitable at some point. It's just a question of when. So you're listening to the You, Me, and BTC podcast. We need your help. First of all, we'd love it if you could check out our website, youmeandbtc.com. There you can find donation addresses for every single article and episode, and we'd love it if you could make use of those. We could also use some fans and followers, so if you're willing, please visit Facebook or Twitter.com/youmeandbtc. Lastly, remember to subscribe to the show. You can do that on iTunes or sign up on our website to receive email updates. Thanks for your support. We went on to all that just because McCaskill was talking about, what did he say?
I think we're going to have a very different world. We're pretty close to the last leg of the dollar.
Yeah, the last leg of the dollar. Yeah, that's what we've been talking about. But no, that was pretty interesting. It's definitely a tough thing to explain and talk about, the idea of the dollar collapsing, kind of. So, but anyway, yeah, if you want to continue, Tim, go for it.
Okay. Aha, but 5 years is not 2 years, so we asked again, in 2017, if the dollar's still here, would you really not accept it? I don't want to be left holding dollars when they're not valuable. Mr. McCaskill thinks the dollar's going the way of the Zimbabwe. He thinks the greenback's going to collapse and disappear, and Bitcoin is going to rise up in its place and become the world's de facto currency. Mr. McCaskill is both a gold bug and a Bitcoiner, and is positioning his business now for it. Well, that's like your opinion, man.
That's the editors or the author's comments on McCaskill.
Yeah, they're also they're stealing jokes from the Big Lebowski.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, and what did he say in there? I don't want to be left holding dollars when they're not valuable. And see, that's kind of the thing that we talked about with Buenos Aires too, because I think I heard probably on Let's Talk Bitcoin or something, somebody was calling it kind of like a game of hot potato, where everybody just wants to get rid of the pesos as fast as they can, and they'll do whatever they have to just get rid of them. So people will just spend as much money as they can on physical things because physical things are holding value better. So they'll just go out and buy like a dishwasher or a car or something, and that's what their savings account is, because that's the only way they can hold value, and it's better than having pesos.
And cars lose value pretty quickly.
Well, not necessarily in Buenos Aires.
Well, I'm saying they lose value quickly, but it's still not as much as the currency, which is why it's so insane.
Right. If it's better to keep something like a car that loses a little bit of value pretty quickly than to have a peso, that must mean the peso is pretty bad, I guess. So anyway, I guess you can keep going, Tim.
Amagi Metals has been accepting Bitcoin since 2012, and cryptocurrencies comprise roughly 30 to 40% of its business, which is all done online, so it's already further toward being a complete Bitcoin business than most other retailers. But that is still different from saying you will not accept US dollars. We pressed again. There's going to be a point when I will turn away business for dollars, and that's going to be 2017, he said. I'm pretty sure we're not going to change that position. Huh? Well, okay then, that's the editors again. Mr. McCaskill did offer one caveat. If the dollar were to evolve, if the US government were to back it with gold or a cryptocurrency so that it stopped losing value, he'd still take it. And then the editor, I guess, or someone put in at the end, aha. So.
They caught him. He would accept dollars.
Well, his thing, yeah, I mean, his thing isn't against the dollar just for the sake of being against the dollar. His thing is against just something not being backed by anything.
Right, yeah, that's definitely true. So, I guess I also just want to say real quick, we do have an affiliate link with Amagi Metals. That is umeandbtc.com/soundmoney. So if you're willing, and if you're interested in maybe getting some gold or silver for Bitcoin or for dollars, I mean, you better be quick, I guess, but we think that's a pretty good idea. We've all three used Amagi Metals and bought stuff there. I mean, I guess disclaimer, we're not financial advisors, so get professional advice before you make any real decisions, but still, that's our opinion. And so if you're willing, check out umeandbtc.com/soundmoney, and we'd love that. So, all right, well, yeah, I guess we could move on. Should we let John take it away for a little bit?
All right. So I figure this probably won't take us too long to talk about. It's just an R Bitcoin post on Reddit. They're talking about how YouTube now allows tipping. The headline is YouTube now allows tipping, but look at the transaction fees. So I guess real quick, I'm going to go over to the page that's on Google about it, like support.google.com or whatever. So basically, they're going to put a support button on the channel page for YouTube creators, and you click on it, and you can choose how big you want your tip to be that you give them. And naturally, you're only allowed to do this using Google Wallet, and if you don't have it, you have to make one. So there's that. And then, yeah, so I guess you send a thank you message with it too. But the thing that people, I guess, on this Reddit post are kind of getting all up in arms about is the fees per transaction. So right now, on this Google page, it only says this will only be implemented right now in Australia, Japan, Mexico, and the United States. That's, for right now, I guess that's where they're starting with this. I don't know about the plans to move to other countries. Each one has a different fee. I guess I don't need to go over that because I'm just going to say the United States one because that's where we are. 21 cents plus 5%. So maybe it doesn't seem like a whole lot on the surface, but when you think about that these are going to be on tips, which are small micro payments, that can really make a big difference. If you're doing high volume trades, maybe you'd be able to take that hit a little bit better, but on micro payments, it kind of defeats the purpose of it.
Right, yeah, exactly, because, I mean, a lot of tips are really like $1, $2, or $3 maybe on a good day. I mean, we hardly get any tips, but they're usually pretty small. And in that example on Reddit, he thought the fees were insane on a $10 tip. Okay, so what did he say, like 71 cents? He thought that was a ton for $10, and that's less than 10% or something. But let's say somebody gives $1 or $2 or $3, then all of a sudden your fees are like what, 15, 20, 25%. Those are outrageous fees, and a lot of people don't really want to deal with that, and they don't have to with Bitcoin, but Anyway, sorry, anything else?
Yeah, so, well, this post is kind of funny. He's like, look at those fees, 21 cents USD plus 5%. What a ripoff. Google at its finest. If only there was a cheaper alternative. ... Oh, wait. And then the guy underneath that who replied to it actually says, this is really proving to me that Bitcoin or some form of crypto really is the only solution for micropayments. And this is kind of a big talking point around Bitcoin, I think, with a lot of people, especially with a lot of charities. That's kind of a big deal for them, because if it's not, I don't know, I guess a lot of charities probably lose a lot of donations that they could be making because it doesn't really work for them to take micropayments because of fees and stuff.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess they would have two options. Either they do take the micropayments and they lose an insane percent of it. You know, money that should have gone to a charity ends up going to the credit card companies or who knows where. So they could do that, I guess, if they want to. Or they don't take the micropayments and then they lose, like we said, most tips. A lot of people like to give just $1 or $2 or $3. And if the charity decides not to take micropayments, well, then they lose all that. So either way, they lose money, so.
Yeah, I mean, just think about that. If you tip $1, you lose 21 cents off that just right off the bat.
And,
like that's,
well, and it's like plus what, 5% or something? So that's pretty much a 25% fee right there, which is insane. I mean, I guess I would rather have, you know, like 75 cents that should have been $1 than have no tips at all or no donations at all. So it's better than nothing, I guess, but the fees are still crazy, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I mean, as it stands, YouTube hasn't had any kind of tipping service, and tons of people use it anyways. So I don't think this is going to bother people really. I mean, I kind of almost wish that it would bother people more. Like if they were, I don't know. I don't know how it would, because they're moving from no tips to tips now. So it's like, yeah, and it's so widely used that people are just gonna be like, oh, that's a nice added feature. But one guy is saying on here is like, this could be a good step, because if people start getting into like a habit of tipping creators more often, that just becomes more common. We'll get used to the whole donation thing, and then there will be the barrier to using Bitcoins for donations is going to be a lot lower than if we're already used to tipping. But like I said, if this bothered people more, we might get there quicker.
Right. Right now they don't see it as a bad thing just because, well, they don't know that there's anything better. They just haven't heard of Bitcoin, and they don't know that there's an easier, cheaper, faster way to do micropayments and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, I guess we just have to let them know, and it'll take time. Just like we always talk about with Bitcoin, we're excited to be where we are, and we're excited for all kinds of things, but we still have a long way to go. We need more people to adopt, and I guess we're just always looking forward to that, and we can't wait to see where everything goes, so definitely. Sweet, well, anything else?
Well, maybe I could just say real quick, people in there are like, well, if you don't like this, just put your address in the description on the YouTube video. And then somebody's like, watch them start prohibiting Bitcoin donation links so people have to use their own crappy product.
Yeah.
So that's maybe a potential problem, but yeah, I don't have anything else though.
Okay. And there's one last thing we wanted to talk about, everybody. It's this new, I hadn't heard about this before yet, but the company behind the Firefox web browser, which apparently none of us really use. I thought Daniel was a big user of it, but then he said he wasn't.
Right, yeah, I use Google Chrome for pretty much everything, so. I mean, and that's, I guess, another thing we're saying is we've been kind of bad-mouthing Google for all their high fees and everything with their Google Wallet and the YouTube tips and everything. And yeah, I mean, those are not the best things in the world, but I still really do love Google, and I love having Android. I use that all the time. I like how they're really open source as opposed to Apple and their products. So, I mean, there are good things about them too, but anyway, sorry, go ahead, Tim.
Okay. Mozilla, which is the company behind the Firefox web browser and the Firefox OS, they recently just started making their own smartphones, and they've launched them in India, and they're going for $33, which is pretty affordable. I don't know, I haven't even seen it. I can't really see a picture of it on here. Or no, yeah, there is. It's right there. I mean, it looks pretty good. It doesn't look amazing, but for $33, it's pretty good.
Is it only in India?
It says in India. I don't know why in India.
Maybe I should get one of these.
It says they already launched similar phones in various countries around South America, Latin America, and Europe.
Okay.
So.
I want to know if I can get one of these.
Yeah, with your dumb phone.
Because everybody knows I'm a cheap bastard.
Yes, you are.
And that's why I still have an SMS phone.
It goes for 1,999 rupees, or $33. It's only for sale on India's online shopping site, Snapdeal, and it runs on Mozilla's Firefox operating system, and will be the first low-cost device running that system available in Asia. So, yeah, it's a really low-cost phone. What's interesting about this, and what brought it to my attention going through the Bitcoin Reddit stuff, looking for stories, was how we've talked about in the past getting Bitcoin to the third world countries and places like this. Like a $33 phone is a lot more doable for someone than a laptop or like a $200 smartphone, something like that. So people are able to get these. You allow Bitcoin to get further out into less what we would consider modernized areas, and that's where I think we would agree Bitcoin is really going to help people.
Yeah, and there's actually a tweet on this page from Edmund C. Moy, and this guy's a really awesome guy. I don't need to tell you all about him because we talked about him quite a bit in some of our past shows. I met him in Cryptolina, and he's the former director of the U.S. Mint. Had amazing things to say, and I would encourage anyone to check out that talk if you're able to. It's probably online somewhere. But anyway, his tweet is, Mozilla makes Asia debut with $33 smartphone in India. Means faster rate of Bitcoin adoption in India. And, I mean, yeah, that's just that. That's really awesome. It's really cheap, and it'll allow a lot more adoption. So, yeah, that's just really cool. And hopefully, like you said, Tim, hopefully it'll help a lot of people, too, who really need an affordable way to make transactions and protect their money and things like that. So, yeah, it's really awesome.
Yeah. So, just one last thing about the Firefox thing. Apparently in their commercial for the phone, they have, in the, spaces for apps, they actually have a Bitcoin logo pretty noticeably featured in the commercial. So, that's pretty cool.
Thanks for listening to episode 36. All of the music in today's show was from John Stuart. We'll see you next Thursday.